This is the new BYD Seal 6 DMI. But what does that mean, and is it any good? In this review, we're finding out. And if you want to see lots more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to our channel. So BYD is continuing its massive onslaught on the European car market. It's the world's biggest maker of electric cars, but just a few years ago in the UK, most people would have never heard of them. But thanks to some huge marketing campaigns and a relentless stream of new metal on our roads, BYD is trying to become a major player. And this is the 8th BYD that we've driven in a staggeringly short space of time. The models we've been in so far are the BYD Atto 2, Atto 3, Dolphin, Dolphin Surf, Seal, Seal U DMI, and the Sea Lion 7. So where does the Seal 6 DMI fit into all of that? Well, there are some clues to be found in its name, but this does not have 6 seats, it doesn't have 6 wheels. This is not the 6th model released by BYD, so there isn't actually any official explanation as to why it's the Seal 6. The Seal part of its name does give a slightly better idea of its relation to other cars in BYD's lineup though. But this doesn't actually have much in common with the BYD Seal, which is a fully electric saloon. This is not fully electric. It's a plug-in hybrid. DMI stands for dual mode intelligence, dual mode as in petrol or electric. And you can have this car as a saloon or as a touring estate version. And while it doesn't have much in common with the BYD Seal fully electric saloon, it does have a lot in common with the BYD Seal U DMI, which is a plug-in hybrid SUV. The two cars are quite similar, sharing a lot of the same mechanical parts, but the plug-in hybrid setups that they offer are a little bit different from one another. In the Seal 6, like the Seal U, there are 2 options to choose from. In the smaller battery version, you get a 10 kilowatt hour unit, which offers an official fully electric range of around 34 miles. The bigger battery has a usable capacity of 19 kilowatt hours, and that bumps the official range up to somewhere around 65 miles. Now, both of those numbers are worse than what's on offer in the Seal U, but both cars and both batteries come with BYD's so-called blade technology, which means that the batteries they use are LFP rather than NMC. The bigger battery can accept CCS fast charging, and in ideal conditions, BYD quotes a 30 to 80% top up in around 23 minutes, which to be honest isn't actually that quick. The maximum charging rate it can accept is only 26 kilowatts, but still it is useful that you can plug it into a fast charger if you're out on the move, but you can't do that with the smaller battery. You can also have a vehicle to load function with your BYD, and that means you can turn this charging port effectively into a portable 3-pin plug, but you do need an adapter for that. Now let's take a closer look back here, because the Seal 6 Touring is the first estate car from BYD. So what is on offer back here? Well, the first thing to point out is that it is the estate which is expected to be more popular than the saloon version of this car. And in total, you've got 500 litres of storage. That's up to the parcel shelf. And then beyond the parcel shelf, the overall capacity is 675 litres. To increase the overall capacity, you can flatten the rear seats. They split fold 60-40, and there's a ski hatch as well. You can put them down very easily using these levers in the boot itself, or using the toggles on the seat backs there. And once they're down, overall capacity increases to 1,535 litres. You also get a height adjustable boot floor as standard, and you can see in this highest position, you have virtually no loading lip at the front here. You can lower it, but to be honest, the difference in height is not particularly significant at all, and you're left with that kind of step and lump at the very back. But still, it's better to have something like this than nothing at all. Now, compared to the saloon, overall capacity doesn't actually look that different compared to this touring version. In the saloon, you've got 491 litres below the parcel shelf, but that doesn't tell the whole story, because of course, in this touring version, you've got this huge, easy, open access to the boot itself, which you don't have in the saloon. And in this version, you've got all the extra storage right up to the roof lining, which again, you don't really have in the saloon version either. So it's clear that this is much more practical compared to that. So the boot space seems fine, but how does it compare to its estate car rivals? Well, it's a fairly small pool of competitors that this is going to be up against, because the estate car class today is much smaller than it used to be, and there aren't really many plug-in hybrids either. If that is what you're after, then currently it's the VW Passat, which is the benchmark. Now that has a vast boot at 690 litres, but not for the plug-in hybrid version. If you go for that car, then the boot capacity drops down to 510 litres, which is only a little bit more than what's on offer in the Seal 6. But you might also be looking at a Toyota Corolla Touring Sports, which, okay, isn't a plug-in hybrid, but is surely going to be on your shortlist if you're looking at a Seal 6 DMI. And in that car, boot capacity is up to almost 600 litres, depending on the engine that you go for. So the boot space that's on offer here definitely isn't terrible, but in the wider estate car class, it's not absolutely amazing compared to some of its rivals. Now, what are the rear seats like? Well, to be honest, there is a lot of space back here. Legroom is enough to rival the very spacious VW Passat. So lots of room to stretch out and relax in, but if this front seat is as low as it will go, there isn't loads of space for your feet under the seat itself, but you can still just about squeeze them in there. But it is great that you've got a flat floor down here. The seating position itself, though, isn't that comfortable because this bench feels relatively low to the high floor, and so it means that my knees are quite high and I haven't got a load of support under my thighs, so that is slightly unusual. But the actual space on offer is good. It's wide back here, so sitting 3 people side by side should be reasonably good to do, especially because this middle seat isn't raised up massively compared to the outer 2, and it's also not really hard and uncomfortable when you're sat there. Headroom is decent. You'd have to be over 6 foot to feel cramped, and you've also got a lot of light coming in through these rear windows and extra glass behind you as well. So overall, it does feel pretty open and spacious in the rear seats, and impressive compared to the other estate cars that this is up against. You've also got this armrest which you can bring down. It's nicely padded. You've got 2 cup holders here, and it also shows you where the ski hatch is, which of course gives you access to the boot or lets you put long items through it. So overall, yes, the sitting position itself is slightly unusual, but the actual space that you're given is very good in the back of the Seal 6. So what about the interior up front? Well, you've got quite a familiar BYD look to things here. So you've got this digital driver display right in front of you, which does have quite a lot of very small text and numbers going on, which isn't ideal, but it is quite easy to keep it in your view, not blocked by the steering wheel. Then you have this touchscreen infotainment system here. Now this is a 12.8 inch screen, which does not rotate, but you can get a bigger 15.6 inch screen if you go for the range topping trim level with the bigger battery. And that does rotate, although as we've seen, it's a bit of a gimmick really, because you can only run Apple CarPlay or Android Auto in this landscape mode here. Now this fixed screen here has got a nice resolution, the graphics look good, and it's reasonably responsive to your touch inputs as well. But there are a lot of menus and sub-menus, so it can be quite fiddly getting your head around things. And it's also quite annoying that these icons along the bottom are so small. But you do have this 3-finger shortcut to adjust the temperature and the fan speed, but it still would be better if either these were much bigger, or even better, you had separate physical controls to be able to adjust it. Now, elsewhere in this interior, you have a pretty decent mix of materials, to be honest. There's plenty of soft touch materials around. Yes, there are a lot of plastics, and yes, there is a smell of plastic in here, as there is in other BYDs, but it all feels reasonably good quality and is actually a match for what's on offer in the interior of the VW Passat. This does all feel put together pretty well. And you've also got a lot of storage as well. So decent sized door bins. You've got this big storage tray underneath the big central column that you've got here. A big pad for your wireless phone charging, 2 cup holders, and under this big cushioned armrest, you've got another well-sized cubby here. So this is not the most luxurious and amazing interior up front, but actually compared to the other estate cars that this is up against, build quality and materials are good. There are good things about the infotainment system as well. So overall, fairly decent up front. So how much does all of this cost? Well, UK pricing hasn't been confirmed yet, but it is thought that the Seal 6 will have a starting price somewhere between £34,000 to £38,000. And the difference between the saloon and the estate will be about £2,000 to £3,000, with the estate costing more than the saloon body. Now, a VW Passat plug-in hybrid starts at around £44,000, so it is likely that that will be quite a lot more expensive than an equivalent version of the Seal 6. But a Toyota Corolla Touring Sports, which, okay, isn't a plug-in hybrid, starts at £32,000, which is quite a bit cheaper. But every Seal 6 is very well equipped with things like heated and ventilated seats and a heated steering wheel coming as standard. There are, though, 3 different trim levels to choose from, but the choice really depends on the battery that you want to go for. If you want the smaller battery, then you will get a Boost model. If you want the bigger battery, that's where you have a choice of going for Comfort Light or Comfort. But the only difference between those 2 trims is the size of the infotainment screen. If you go for Comfort Light, it's a tiny bit cheaper because you get the smaller screen instead of the bigger one that comes with Comfort. Now, what is the Seal 6 like on the road? Well, to be honest, the driving experience is fairly similar to what the Seal U offers, and that means it is incredibly soft in the way that it's set up, but not in a good way. The softness means that there's lots of movement in the body, especially at low speeds, but it's not very well controlled. And also, the rebound in the suspension seems quite harsh, to be honest. So what that means is you're moving around the car quite a lot at all times in the Seal 6. Things never really settle down, and it means it's not particularly comfortable at those lower speeds. It does get slightly better at higher speeds on the motorway, for example, but it is definitely far behind the best riding estate cars out there. There's also quite a lot of suspension noise when you do pass over bumps or imperfections on the road. And in terms of handling, there's nothing particularly inspiring to report on here. Yes, the steering's very light and smooth, which makes things very easy at low speeds and getting into parking spaces, but it's also pretty lifeless, so it doesn't give you a huge amount of confidence to push on and throw this around some corners. But it isn't the case that this is absolutely terrible on the road in every department. The plug-in hybrid system is pretty effective in the way that it goes about its business because it's smooth, quiet and snappy when it's running on electric power. Then the transition to having some petrol assistance is quite smooth as well, and the performance is absolutely fine from what you need in this type of car. There is a slight difference depending on the battery that you go for. So the smaller battery gets 181 brake horsepower and a 0 to 62 time officially of 8.9 seconds. And if you go for the bigger battery, you get a bit more power at 209 brake horsepower, and it drops the 0 to 62 down to 8.5 seconds. But really, whichever version you go for, performance is perfectly adequate, and it's snappy off the line, it's quick enough for motorway journeys as well. But really, looking at all departments of the Seal 6 on the road, this is pretty far behind the best estate cars out there. A VW Passat, a Corolla Touring Sports, they're far more comfortable and controlled and better to drive than what the Seal 6 offers. It's not that this is terrible, but there are definitely better options in the class. So the BYD Seal 6 DMI is likely to be very competitive when it comes to pricing, particularly compared to the few plug-in hybrid estate cars that it's up against. And it also offers lots of space in the front and in the back. It also comes with lots of equipment, but on the road, it's clear that this is quite far behind the very best estate cars that are out there. Thanks very much for watching this review. If you want to see another one, then click up there. Make sure you subscribe to our channel while you're at it. And if you want to find out more about the Seal 6 DMI and every car around, click on that link to go to whatcar.com.